Hello everyone, this is Anna from Cat Realty, and today I'm here to talk to you about the area of Sines. So for those of you who don't know, Cat Realty is a relocation and investment agency that helps expats move to Portugal in a sustainable lifestyle way. This means that we work in the whole country, helping you figure out where it's the right place for you with your personal lifestyle needs and budget. And we work with both rentals and purchases. Our goal is to provide as much information and protection to the buyers so they can make an informed decision that is aligned with the market and don't end up overpaying. So our goal is to help expats by helping them making good purchases and to help locals by not inflating the prices. We are a team of fully locals and we work in the whole of continental Portugal. If this makes sense to you, do check out our services in our website in www.savvycatrealty.com. So going into today's topic, which is the area of Sines. Sines is about 1.5 to 2 hours drive from Lisbon, and I'm saying 1.5 to 2 hours because there is also going currently a highway upgrade. It's actually a very big stretch between the highway and Sines. So when you go down south from Lisbon, you take the A2 that goes down all the way to Algarve, and then one of the first exits, that's probably the second, is Sines, and then you still have to drive about 75 kilometers to reach Sines from the A2 highway. This 75 kilometer stretch is currently being upgraded into a highway, so this trip will be made a bit faster. So right now it does take a bit closer to 2 hours to reach Sines from the center of Lisbon. If you are a bit more on the suburbs or in the south margin, then it will be a lot faster and closer to 1.5 hours anyway. So, why Sines? Sines is currently buzzing here in Portugal because there is going to be or is currently undergoing a very big investment in a data center by Microsoft. So Microsoft has invested over 10 million US dollars in creating a data center for AI technology in Sines. And why Sines? Sines is actually very strategically located because it is a hub where underwater cables go by, and it's also an industrial area with a cargo port. So it is also a very strategic location within the whole of Europe. Sines is actually a very small town, industrial town, and it only has about 15,000 inhabitants, so it's a very small location. And I do believe that this data center is going to bring a lot of business and a lot of more industrialization to Sines. Sines, like I said, is already a fairly industrial area given the cargo port. And there is quite a few business. was also a refinery that actually got revamped, but that's a whole other story. And Sines is known to be a very buzzing industrial area. So this investment is definitely going to make it a lot more interesting and a lot more valuable and a lot more dynamic. So Sines has already been growing in value. There was a big spike around 2023. The values in Sines were, when it comes to property, were still under 2,000 euros per square meter. And now, closer to the end of this year, they actually give us an average of 3,650 euros per square meter. That's the average for the end of 2025 in the Sines area. While if you look at the whole year, you do get a lot lower averages. So you can already tell that the prices are rising. So this announcement for the data center was made in the 11th of November 2025 during the Web Summit. And if you look at prices to Sines, we have our MLS program. It's giving me 2,500 euros per square meter on apartments for the average of the past year. and 2.8, so 2,800 euros per square meter for villas. While if I look at the Idealista data, so for the listings that have been happening in Idealista in the last month, it's already giving me 3,650 euros per square meter. So you can already see there's going to be a very big rising trend in this area due to this big investment. It's also going to create job posts and lots of opportunities for businesses. The immediate job output is actually not that big. It's estimated to be creating about 270 immediate job posts, but they are estimating that it can go up to 8,000 over 10 years. I don't know where they are getting these numbers from. It's what I've read. And I imagine that it is also incentivizing startups and tech businesses settling in this area due to the proximity of the data center. This is just a guess. There is also already developments coming in hand with this being announced, housing for professionals and new developments in that style. So Sines is definitely going to be a very up-and-coming area for 2026 in Portugal. And if you are looking at somewhere to invest that is going to gain value quickly, Sines can be the right place given all of this. I'm also going to give you a bit more, of course, of an overview in Sines. Sines is a fairly traditional area. It only started developing more after the commercial port and the industrial facilities started developing. And the town center, it's still fairly traditional with a lot of walking streets, and you have a bit more of the traditional Alentejo. You actually don't have a lot of the traditional Alentejo architecture in Sines. It's a bit more of a mix. You have a bit of everything, but you do still have some of it downtown. And it is a very pleasant city, and it's actually the view, the seafront view is very beautiful. It also has a castle with some ruins. There's a number of museums. So it is a culturally active town. It's also fairly known to have quite good restaurants. So you do have a bit of everything. You also have all kinds of schools, courts. So it's a city that has everything that you need for a daily basis, and then you are relatively close to Lisbon. And given this industrial development, it's definitely a very interesting city. The castle view is also very beautiful. It's the castle is mostly just the outer walls. It occasionally has events on the inside, but it's basically plain land on the inside, and it does have an absolutely gorgeous view of the waterfront. And even though you do have the port, the industrial port in Sines, it does not affect the view that negatively. It's actually still, it's really, really beautiful ocean view from there. And the ocean front, it's still extremely pleasant to look at. It's also interesting to mention that, of course, being in the waterfront, you also have beaches. And because all of this, even before Microsoft invested in this data center, the water cooling was already a thing in the industrial area of Sines. And this new data center is actually also very focused on renewable energy, and is going to be using a saltwater cooling system. So this cooling system already existed, and it kind of went back into the ocean. And it's just circulating the seawater to cool the electrical components. And what happens is that the water that gets circulated back comes back warm. So the beach right next to Sines is actually very popular because you get warm water due to this cooling system. So that's just an interesting curiosity about this location. Another place that I highly recommend, and it's kind of a hidden gem of Portugal, is Lagoa de Santo André, which is just about 20 to 30 minutes drive from Sines. And it is a lagoon, a seawater lagoon, of course, next to the ocean. And it's an area that not a lot of people know about, and it's definitely not valley development, not even regarding tourism. You do have a lot of mostly holiday homes from people from Lisbon. It's kind of a hidden spot in that way. But only now, recently, like I think in the last year, a Hilton hotel opened there. It rebranded an old place there. But it's been an almost unknown location from tourists, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I do have to warn you that the roads accesses there are all kind of national roads, so you don't really have highways. And a lot of them are not in the best state, and it's a bit odd because some of them have new, it's not coal, new tar, and the tar kind of looks, black and newish, but then every, 1 or 2 kilometers you will have these huge holes out of nowhere. So you do have to be careful when driving on those roads. But overall, it's still very scenic because you do get to the Alentejo landscape with the chaparro trees, which look gorgeous, and there's a lot of areas in the road that kind of do the tree tunnels. So it's a really, really pleasant drive to do. You just have to be careful with the holes. But like I was saying, Lagoa de Santo André is gorgeous. You have absolutely beautiful view. On the winter time, it's just a view, and it's basically a desert town. But on the summertime, it gets quite busy, and there's, like I said, a big amount of holiday homes in that area. I would say the vast majority of them are holiday homes, so it gets quite busy in the summertime, and lots of people go to the lagoon because you get it's very safe for kids because it's a lagoon that still has seawater accesses, so no currents, and it's just a really, really pleasant location, and like I said, kind of a hidden gem in Portugal. And the other location that kind of builds up this triangle is going to be Santiago de Cacém, which is kind of in between Santo André and Sines to the interior. And all of these locations are probably going to develop thanks to this investment. Santiago de Cacém is also a fairly small location. It only has about 5.5 thousand inhabitants. So it's a really small village kind of place. It also has a castle, and I was very, very interested, my curiosity was very piqued with this castle because this castle has a cemetery on the inside, and I had never seen such a thing. And the views are absolutely gorgeous, but it's just such a unique and quirky thing. And as myself, as a bit of a quirky person, I just think it's such a cool thing that people from Santiago de Cacém get to be buried inside a castle. Like, how cool is that? Anyway, so you have a castle on top of the hill with a cemetery inside, a beautiful view, and the downtown of Santiago de Cacém is kind of built around the castle on this hill. So you do have quite a bit of very steep roads, and because most of this town was built during medieval times, you do have quite a bit of narrow streets. But then if you come down to the bottom of the hill, you have a bit newer development, you have a really nice park, and you have some newer builds happening too, and some villa areas. So it's also a very pleasant, much smaller location, but curiously, it's actually going to be faster to reach Lisbon from Santiago de Cacém than from Sines, because it's a bit more towards the interior, so you are a bit closer to the highway, although the difference is not going to be much. Like I said, that new stretch of highway that are making between the A2 and Sines is definitely going to make things a lot easier when it comes to transport on this area. And once again, the national roads are a bit tricky. Another curious thing about Santiago de Cacém is that in Santiago de Cacém, you have the only safari park in Portugal, which is called the Badoca Safari Park. And it is a safari park with exotic animals that is open all year round. I didn't go inside it. I remember going there like 10 years ago with my parents when I was still a young teen. And I remember thinking it was really cool at the time, but I didn't go inside to film at this time. But it is definitely a very interesting curiosity, and you have a number of activities to do with these animals. So overall, this can be an extremely interesting area and a very pleasant area, and still a fairly affordable area, but probably also not for long. And later, I'm also going to make a video about the upper part of the Alentejo, so just below, next to the Bay of Setúbal. So you have Setúbal, then you have the bay, and then you have Troia, Comporta, Melides, and Grândola. I'm going to do a video about that area too, and that area is kind of the high-end vacation area. So the proximity to these and the prices are very different. So in this area, I gave you prices, like I forgot to give you the prices from Santiago de Cacém. So Santiago de Cacém is currently going about 2,000 euros per square meter on apartment, 3,500 euros per square meter on houses, and an overall average of about 2,500. So these are fairly affordable prices. But if you go towards, Melides, Grândola, Troia, Comporta, you get most of the prices over 5,000 euros per square meter. So this area definitely is going to be gaining value, and it's very interesting from an investment perspective, especially with this new development happening. So I hope that this information is useful. I believe I went over most things that are important about the area of Sines. I would love to hear your feedback if you've been to Sines, what you've thought of it, what other areas you think may be up and coming. And if you are interested in investing, relocating, and buying or renting in Portugal, you can always check our services and get even a free advisory call that can be booked in our website in www.savvycatrealty.com, or of course just reach out to us directly at contact@savvycatrealty.com. So I hope that this was helpful, and I will see you all again next week. Bye!